The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is still looking into the deadly shooting of this one-year-old child in Senatobia. Tonight, Action News 5 is working to identify the officer involved in the shooting, who is currently on leave. Action News 5's Jared Thomas joining us live from Senatobia. And Jared, you were working the story today. Tell us what you learned.
Yes, that's right, Joy. Now, the city won't release the officer's name, so we took matters into our own hands by submitting multiple public records, and here's what we end up finding. This afternoon, Action News 5 obtained 5 years of officer-involved shooting records from the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation. Those records list Hunter Foster, along with Cohen Wiley, his mother, Valicia Wiley, and a third person we're still working to identify as people involved in Sunday's shooting. An incident report from MBI was too heavily redacted to confirm Hunter Foster as the officer involved. Action News 5 confirmed through city records Hunter Foster was promoted as a sergeant in Senatobia back in September. We went to City Hall and the police department asking Mayor Greg Graves and the police chief to confirm Foster's identity and involvement. A staffer said both were in a meeting. Any further information, we were told, must come from MBI. This comes just days after protesters gathered outside the Senatobia Walmart, demanding answers in the death of one-year-old Cohen Wiley. But Tuesday's protest took a turn. Officers deployed tear gas to disperse the crowd. As the story draws national attention, some community members say they don't want this tragedy to define their city. The owners of Delta Steakhouse are organizing a Boston Butt benefit and plan to donate all proceeds to the Wiley family.
We don't want the division between the black and the white. What happened here is wrong. It should have never happened. I have prior military experience. I know that they shouldn't have shot in that car. It shouldn't have happened.
It's devastating. No mother, I don't care the circumstance, should ever have to bury their children. And it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking. And now the community will hold a prayer visual for Cohen tomorrow at 6 at Life Point Church. For now, I'm Jared Thomas reporting live in Senatobia. Action News 5.